This 11-story hotel is unlike anything Melbourne has ever seen. With an amazing rooftop bar and gathering space, incredible conference facilities, and of course, amazing guest rooms and suites like this one. So if you have friends and family coming to town for a visit, or want to go out and enjoy downtown Melbourne's great restaurants, bars, and shopping for a night or two, Hotel Melby is the place to be. Welcome back to the 411 on the 321. Tales, tenets, and tips from Space Coast business leaders, brought to you by the Melbourne Regional Chamber. I'm your host, Mel Thomas, and I'm thrilled to be joining you this morning from the gorgeous Hotel Melby, downtown Melbourne. I have a very special guest today. This is her second time on the show. We love repeats. Monica Newman McCluney. And I'm going to read this because this is a big title. Head of U.S. Corporate Social Responsibility and the Embraer Foundation for Embraer.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me, Monica.
Thank you. You got all of that right.
Okay, good. Good. I can't wait to see your business card after we're done. So we're going to be right back with Monica after a few words from our champion sponsor, Hedrick Brothers Construction. Since 1979, Hedrick Brothers Construction has been delivering quality construction for the commercial and luxury residential markets of South Florida. In 2020, Hedrick Brothers expanded into the Space Coast region and opened an office here in Melbourne. 3 years later, the team's grown to over a dozen professionals, working on large, local projects and investing in our community. The sky is not the limit for the Hedrick Brothers team. Check them out. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back. Monica, I am so excited to have you as a guest on the couch today.
Yes.
Every time I get to talk to you is a good day, and today I get you for like 30 minutes. So this is a fabulous way to start the day.
I love that. Thank you for having me back.
You're welcome. You're welcome back anytime. I hope this isn't the last time. So anyone unfamiliar that maybe didn't see the last episode or just doesn't know, what is the Embraer Foundation specifically?
So we were established in 2017, basically to galvanize all of our efforts across the United States around community engagement. So we have a seamless process that is now known as the Embraer Foundation.
I love it.
Yeah.
So how does the Embraer Foundation do that? And what are some of the passions of the Embraer Foundation?
What a great question. So there are kind of a couple of pathways of funding, for example, with the foundation. So in our local communities, and there are 6 of those.
Okay.
And I can share with you who those are.
Let's do
what
it.
markets those are. So we've got Brevard County.
Yay.
Here in Melbourne. We've got Nashville, Tennessee, Macon, Georgia, Mesa, Arizona,
Okay.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, 3 Floridas.
Yeah, I know. It's cool, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so, and it represents each of our business units. So here in Melbourne is our Executive Jets business unit. In Jacksonville, it's our Security and Defense. And in Fort Lauderdale, it's our MRO for commercial.
Okay.
So yeah, we stay busy in Florida.
Yeah, you do.
And so we focus our local funding on 4 key critical needs areas: food insecurity, housing, education, and workforce development, job skills.
And talk about 4 things that we need more than anything and how they feed into each other in this cycle. I love that. Specifically here in Brevard, I know that you work very hard with access to education, especially STEM education for our youth. Can you talk about some things specifically you're doing here in Brevard in that bucket?
Sure. That's kind of our aviation pathway of funding. So I know STEM is such a broad category.
It really is.
And there are a lot of us, obviously, in aerospace that are super committed to STEM. But for us, it really is being very focused on aviation specifically. So what we try to do is create partnerships that allow us to feed that workforce pipeline. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the data that's out there about the need in our industry.
Yes.
Whether it's for engineers, technicians, mechanics, air traffic controllers. I mean, it is a substantial need. So we want to make sure that we're doing our part to invest in young people so that 1, they're inspired to want to be a part of our industry. 2, to make sure that they understand what the opportunities are. And 3, that they pursue that pathway. And we help them any way we can to pursue that. So we do that in a few ways.
Yeah.
We provide scholarships through other organizations. So you can't apply for a scholarship directly with our foundation, but certainly you could do that through one of our partners. And we also do things like we hosted an aviation day on our Melbourne campus, which was amazing. We hosted 100 middle school students.
Oh, you go. Okay, so middle school.
All the way to middle
Okay,
school.
okay.
And honestly, we're preparing to reach back to elementary school.
I love that.
And again, we do that through our partners. And in the aviation space, we have partners all across the United States. So we have a lot of leverage.
So could you share maybe an example of maybe a school that you work with here in Brevard?
Sure.
Yeah.
Eau Gallie High School.
Yay!
Our favorite partner. We started last March a program called the Educational Partnership Program, and it is still in its pilot phase. We're considering the first
Is that
3
a pun?
years.
Yeah.
It is. That's a good catch.
I like it. Yeah.
But the first 3 years of that program are considered our pilot because we know that it's going to take that long for us to truly be able to measure the impact, because the focus of that program is workforce development and providing the resources necessary for those educational partners to support their students or their institution in whatever way is most meaningful for them. We're also providing internship and apprenticeship opportunities to those students. So with Eau Gallie High School, super excited that this past school year, we took on the first ever formal interns through the Career and Technical Education Office in partnering with the school district. Yeah, so in the fall, we had 2 interns that were working on our production floor. They were so amazing that after they finished their 150 hours of their internship, they became part-time employees.
Oh my gosh.
And are now full-time employees.
And they're still there.
They're still there.
Oh my gosh.
We brought on 2 new ones in the spring, so we're continuing this cycle and working to increase the number of interns that we're able to take each semester.
I just love that because we're so lucky to live here in Brevard and have so many stakeholders doing these amazing things. But a lot of times they're recruiting from outside of Brevard.
That's right.
Or our local graduates are going somewhere else. And that Embraer is keeping it local, like keeping them here,
Absolutely.
making sure we provide opportunities where they might not have been exposure.
That's right. And we have highly skilled labor here. So why not?
I mean, you invested in them from an early age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
they didn't pick up any bad habits. You got a hold of them. Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
in a
All right.
year.
After the
see what
pilot
they pick up.
program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's talk about the Embraer Foundation grant program. We kind of hit on it a little bit.
Sure.
What is it exactly?
So there's an annual cycle for our local program, and it actually closed this summer.
Okay.
But local organizations, as long as you're a 501c3 that is a public charity and has been working under your 501c3 for at least a year, you're eligible to apply.
Those are not like hard thresholds.
No, not at all. And obviously, you have to be impacting the Brevard community with your programs.
Okay.
This was the first year that we kind of adjusted our process a little bit. So there were 2 different grant processes this year.
Okay.
So there was one for a $5,000 grant and one for a $25,000 competitive grant, which is kind of new territory for us. We typically have operated in the more mini grant space when it comes to our local contributions. So this is really exciting to be able to do the competitive grant, because now we have nonprofit partners here locally that are competing against nonprofits in the other markets that we support for those larger grants.
Okay.
But on the smaller scale, again, simple, easy application, you can go to embraerfoundation.org/grants and click apply.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if you're an aviation program or a sustainability program or even a DEI program, but really specifically DEI within aviation, you can apply year-round for support from the foundation. And that's also something that we've newly developed.
Oh, you guys are doing all sorts of amazing things over there. Yeah. So when will you award the grants? I know you just said it just closed, right? Will you be doing some social media? Will we hear about it? When you get to, her job is the best job in the world. When you get to go deliver the check.
I feel like Santa Claus year-round. It really is a cool job. So that's an interesting question. We have a dynamic compliance process that we go through once we've made the decision on who we're going to fund. And so that can take anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. But typically what we like to do is we go through a process with our board of directors when they meet at the end of August to talk about those that have been selected. And by the way, those organizations are selected by our local employees.
That's what I love more than anything.
Yes. So they are completely invested in the process. They sit down and read every application. They do an evaluation anonymously, and the highest scoring applications receive funding. So, they're part of the process from the beginning to the end. When we get to the point where we're able to announce, and we try to do that by the end of the year.
Okay.
I like to take our employees, because they are my volunteers. I like to take them to visit those organizations, tour their facilities, see how the funds are being used so they have a better understanding of the impact that they've had in the decisions that they've made. And it really does, I think, change their perspective on what happens in their own community and how they can be a part of it.
And it's got to help, I think anyway, with your employee retention, knowing that I'm part of an organization, a big organization that really focuses hyperlocal and improving where I live and work and play and raise my kids, and my parents are here, and that's incredible.
Absolutely.
That's feel good. That's a goosebump moment.
That strategic investment is really important. And I mean, we're part of the ecosystem that is Brevard County and the Space Coast. And we want everyone to know, how much we enjoy being here. We don't want to just take from the market. We want to give back to it.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's incredible. And Embraer just does amazing things.
Thank you.
Badass things in general, but even to dive deeper. I told you. Yeah. So I want to talk about Embraer as a company.
Yes.
Very diverse. They're putting an emphasis, and of course we can all be better, but have really put a focus and emphasis on diversity in the workplace. Can you talk about how that came to be, your role in there, and why that's important for business?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question in reverse.
Do it.
It's important for business because it impacts the bottom line. There's so much data that's available that's very clear that having diverse thought process within your organization, diverse opinions, diverse perspectives, diverse backgrounds makes all the difference in your operations and your profitability. So we'll start there.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is in our industry, there's a shortage of diverse populations, whether it's people of color, the LGBTQ community, or women. And so we, recognizing that, have tried to create some intentional pathways to address those shortages and to close the gap.
Yeah.
So, and we do that even when we're looking at who we're funding. We look at the demographic that they serve to make sure that it aligns with our diversity goals.
Well, and I think, you mentioned Eau Gallie High School and things like that, I'm sure that's one of the ways that you respond to that gap as well.
Absolutely.
With the young folks that are coming up.
And honestly, working with the Office of Diversity through the school district and the CTE office has really made a difference in how we shape that partnership.
Okay.
I think the first time that I went to visit the program at Eau Gallie, and Bill McKinnish is amazing, great at what he does. I looked around the room and I thought, there's room for growth, right, when it comes to diversifying, because it typically is a large white male population that's interested in aviation and gets really excited by it. We want to share that excitement with everyone else and encourage them and inspire them to want to be a part of it. So that's why we reached back into the middle school population. We actually worked with the 3 feeder middle schools to Eau Gallie High School.
Smart.
And worked with their STEM career program. So those kids were already interested in STEM from a career standpoint. So we had a couple of key goals with our aviation day. One was to make sure that the 7th graders persisted and stayed in the program through the 8th grade.
Were you seeing, is that when they usually
There's a dip. They'll start in the 7th grade, fall off in the 8th grade, and then we may not see them again in the STEM space.
Okay.
So we want the 7th graders to persist and complete the program. We want the 8th graders to know about the program at Eau Gallie and consider applying to the program so that they can start in the program as freshmen in high school.
Yes.
So we're trying to help feed the Eau Gallie High School pipeline by working with the middle school students and making sure that in partnership with the school district that we had a very diverse group of students that were able to experience all that is Embraer. So,
and I just love that because, like you said, it's the exposure. It's certainly outreach and things like that, but maybe there are kids out there that just never saw themselves working for Embraer for whatever reason.
Or in our industry.
Yeah.
Because they don't typically see people that look like them.
Right.
So that's a really important factor.
Or they just think that opportunity is not available for them.
And it's not a cliche statement when you hear people say, you have to see it to be it.
Yeah.
It really does make a difference with kids. If they see someone that looks like them, they begin to realize and recognize that maybe that's an opportunity for me too.
Yeah.
And they start to explore that pathway. And for most people in general, their relationship with aviation is commercial.
Sure.
I got on a plane, I saw a pilot, I saw some flight attendants, and that's kind of it. They don't think about there's a whole maintenance team that makes sure that you're safely flying. Yep. There's a whole team that works for the FAA that makes sure that you can take off and land safely.
There's someone in a tower somewhere.
And there are executives. We are a company just like a Coca-Cola or a McDonald's or Procter & Gamble. Same scenario. We have people that work in marketing in communications and public relations, in procurement,
Yeah.
in our legal team. I mean, so there's a broad spectrum of opportunity in the industry that young people don't correlate to aviation.
Right.
So we're trying to close
And
those gaps as
specifically
well.
here in Melbourne in the manufacturing.
Exactly.
Because you've got literally people who sew the seats here and
Yes.
all sorts of things that,
Yes.
I mean, there is an opportunity at every different level.
There is. So if you're
Okay.
interested in upholstery, if you like working
Yeah.
with your hands, huge opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are we providing the seats for our own aircraft, we're doing it for others as well.
See, I didn't
So
know that.
it's a really
I always
dynamic
learn
part of the
something.
business. Yeah.
Very cool. So I'm sure you have a lot, but I wonder if you could share an example of an individual who might have benefited through the Embraer Foundation, one of your programs.
Sure.
Okay.
Through our National Aviation Grant Program, there are two organizations that we've partnered with. The 99th Squadron, which is right here in Brevard County,
Yes.
so I'm sure you're familiar with Ramon Hemphill and his program. He offers a free ground school to young people so that they get their first exposure to aviation and start to understand kind of the mechanics of aviation,
Okay.
what goes into learning to fly. And then they get to take a discovery flight.
Nice.
And that's usually when they get the bug. They
Yeah.
get super excited with, oh man, this is my first time in this airplane and you actually let me take control and fly. And I didn't crash. I did well, right? You're still standing. So you either love it or you hate it.
Right.
Most of them love it.
Okay.
And so we wanted to create an opportunity for them to continue their interest. So we partnered with the Black Pilots of America, the Central Florida chapter.
Okay.
And they have a summer flight academy in Houston, Texas, that allows kids ages 15 to 19
Okay.
to get 40 hours of ground school and 10 hours of flight time towards their private pilot's license. You have to apply. It is a tuition-based program. So we provided the scholarships through Black Pilots of America to ensure that kids from our community had an opportunity to participate in that summer flight academy. And the great news is that they then partnered with the 99th Squadron to identify those young people. So the student that was selected locally is the son of the founder of Emma Jewell Academy, Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole.
So his son was one of the local students that got to experience that program. So it was really exciting, one, to know him.
Yeah.
Right. And then to see the impact of the program. The other great thing about the grant that we provided to Black Pilots of America is that now that and there was one other student that was local that participated in the program, now that they're back and they've completed the initial phase of getting their private pilot's license, they're now able to work with local pilots that are part of BPA to continue getting their flight hours.
I love it.
So the goal really
Right
is
here.
to get right here.
Mhm.
The goal is to get them to the finish line.
I can't wait when we have you back again and you're going to be like, this one's a pilot, this one's like,
Maybe
we're going to
I'll
have
bring them
so
with
many
me.
results. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a new episode already
Yeah.
scheduled. Perfect. Looking ahead, I mean, you're doing so many incredible things, and it sounds like you and Embraer are really good about kind of what are we doing? How can we make it better? Shifting, partnering, all of those great strategies. But looking ahead, what do you see as kind of the future of the foundation? What's your things in the works?
Honestly, I see us focusing more and more and more on workforce development.
Okay.
Because it is such an industry need that it's going to take years before we start to see it turn around. And I think that one of the things that we're doing that I think is pretty cool is starting to engage in broader spaces with this conversation and then following it up with an action plan. So whether we're going to talk to historically Black colleges that have aviation programs about how we leverage their student population, or the resources that are right here locally.
Right.
We've got a great program at Eastern Florida State College. They've got an amazing maintenance program. Or whether it's at FIT, looking at their engineering program. We want to be able to leverage that access and be able to provide opportunities to those young people. But again, we know it's years to come before we see a significant impact.
Right.
But you have to start somewhere. And that kind of goes back to the working in the elementary space.
Yeah.
So our partners at the National Aviation Hall of Fame have an amazing aviation curriculum for 3rd through 6th graders.
Adorable.
That we're working to bring here to Brevard County.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, we're going to have you back like a 4th or 5th time too to talk about that.
I could talk about this all day long.
Good. So I'm just out of curiosity, is there opportunity for volunteerism within the foundation?
So our volunteer program is employee driven.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we actually give each employee 8 hours of volunteer time off each year to invest back in the community. So we do that in two ways. One, I identify opportunities and try to take teams of employees out to do special projects.
Well, I'm sure you know better than anyone all the good work that's been going on out here and who could use the help. Yeah,
absolutely. And one of our favorites is the Children's Hunger Project.
That's one of my favorites.
I mean, I get asked every year, is it on the calendar yet? Are we going? Are we going? Yeah. So, and then working with the zoo is another kind of favorite of our employees. So that's one pathway for volunteerism. And the other is that we created a mini grant program called I Volunteer, where our employees, if they're connected to an organization, for example, there's the basket brigade that happens each year. Yeah, it's a tongue twister. The basket brigade happens each Thanksgiving. So we wanted to provide volunteers to not only help put the baskets together, but provide a monetary contribution to help feed families that are local.
Sure.
So we had a volunteer that was interested in volunteering. They applied for the grant on behalf of the organization. They were given the $1,000 grant. They were able to purchase additional food and feed, I think it was an additional 25 families. And then they brought other employees along to help create the baskets. So we're trying to encourage them to find opportunities that they're deeply connected to and that motivate them to want to continue to volunteer.
Right. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. If it's something that you feel passionate about, especially when you're asked to volunteer outside of work, taking away from your family or your personal time, if it's not something that resonates in here, you're not going to do it. You're not just going to check a box.
That's
but
right.
I think organizations can tell when you have that passion for what the work is.
Agreed. And I think they enjoy it. And the fact that the company gives them time off during their work day to go and make that personal investment, I mean, there's nothing better than that.
I mean, can we all go work for Embraer? Like, wow, what an amazing company.
The more the merrier.
I didn't say that, Hedrick Brothers, but no. Yes. I mean, incredible. Just such good work from the top to all the way down.
I'm glad that you mentioned your company because there's another example of how we work together in this ecosystem, right, in the community, being able to refer partners. So we work with AMI Kids. They have a construction need, and we tried to connect those dots.
Yeah.
So we're always aware of what's happening in the community and how we can make it better.
And another great organization. There's so many.
Absolutely.
Our president of commercial spoke there and just loved it. I was like, sign me up. I'm going to go tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So that was
Amazing
a fabulous
program.
connection. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So someone is just feeling so motivated right now, whether it's to join the Embraer team, to learn more about the foundation. Maybe they run an organization and they want to know more about the grant process and things like that. How can they learn more?
They can visit our website.
Let's do it.
You can visit embraerfoundation.org. And if you want specific information about our grants program, /grants.
Okay.
Is the easiest way to find us.
Okay, perfect. I'm sure you have a lot. Gosh, Monica, what a loaded question I'm about to ask you. What's your favorite part of your job?
That is a loaded question.
Okay.
It is. I don't know that I can narrow it down to one thing that really is the favorite because there's so much about the job that I love.
You really do have the best.
Yeah, I do have the best job. I must admit, it's a fan favorite.
Okay.
Even within the company, I get the comments of, I was looking at your LinkedIn and you were doing something fun the other day. I sure was. You want to come along with me? So it actually is a great motivator for other employees to want to get engaged and involved. But I would say the most fulfilling part of my job is seeing the impact of the investments that we make. To be able to see kids like Mr. Cole's son partake in what we're doing in the community, to see the interns when they're on our campus, and to watch their success. That's it for me. That's the cat's meow for me.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get to see so many, even like the tours you were speaking about, when you take the employees and say, I know $5,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but here's this organization, here's what they have to work with, and look how far this $5,000 can go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bravo to you.
Thank you.
So you're an old hand at this, but this is the part of the program where we ask you to share a tip, a tenet, a little pearl of wisdom, something you heard along the way that has served you well, either in your personal or professional life, you think that our viewers would like.
Always keeping this phrase in mind. Service is the rent we pay for living.
Oh my God, you're the first person to ever say that. I love it. Really?
But that's something that has always stuck with me. So as a servant leader, I not only do service through my day job, but also through many organizations in the community, whether it's a board that I sit on or an organization that I'm a member of. So that's always been kind of a key part of who I am as a person.
Right.
So I really do live by that.
I think
Service is
you
the
do
rent we
too.
pay for living here on earth.
Yeah, I love that. And give back. And there are so many less fortunate. So all the opportunities in the world. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
I
me.
can't wait for our 4th, 5th, and 6th interviews that we've already planned out. So thanks again, Monica, for joining us today. Can you share that website one more time?
Sure. Embraerfoundation.org.
So if you'd like to learn more, you can go visit the website that Monica just shared. For more about Embraer or any of the partners of the Melbourne Regional Chamber, you can also check out melbourneregionalchamber.com. I'd like to thank Monica for her time today. She's very busy, so this is very special. I'd also like to thank the Hotel Melby for putting us up in this gorgeous suite this morning. Anthony DeMalia with Tightline Productions for making all of this possible. I've been your host, and we'll see you next time.